Art and religion, creativity and spirituality, often these are either pitted against each other or live in a sort of uneasy relationship, but particularly through history. Religions have not been good to the arts, and the arts have sometimes had to be sort of controlled or felt they were controlled by religions. But I don't think it has to be that way. The fact is that human beings are essentially, in our very core, our essence, creative, we're spiritual, and we are relational. And those three things all dwell within us in a united, cohesive, interconnected way. They're not separate things, different rooms we might go into at different times to do different things. In fact, I think it's the same sort of core internal processor inside of us as human beings that enable those three things, that enable us to be creative and spiritual and relational. Just think about it. In relationships, it's really important that we learn to listen. The same is true in spirituality and creativity. Compassion, empathy, intuition, learning to engage and receive information in ways that aren't just our logical, rational sides of ourselves, as important as that may be, are important for relationship, for creativity, and for spirituality. So is aspiration and hope and having an intention about what we do and who we are. So all three of those things are actually woven together, and it makes this tension between creativity and spirituality, religion and art unnecessary, and kind of sad, frankly. I want to share a couple of other things about this interplay. Um, Both religion and art we can speak of in this way, that they're actually completed in relationship, in community. So, for example, I want you to just think about it for a moment. When an artist imagines and intuits and senses an inspiration to do or to make something, um, that doesn't just live inside of them. They make something. They create music. They write poems. They make a movie. They sculpt. They paint. They dance. Whatever the creative expression may be, they do that. And it's not just for the expression of their own inspiration for their own satisfaction, although that's certainly incredibly important. It is so that other people can somehow experience something of what the artist experienced, and take part in it. That we offer those things as creative people so that others can taste somehow. And then what happens inside of others is a whole new experience takes place. And in effect, something new connected to that original creativity that we've received from other creative people, something new connected to that gets created in us. And what's beautiful is when that can be shared back. So art is created, um, but then completed in community. The same is true really of religious experiences. Think of religious founders or religious leaders that people learn to trust and follow and learn from. They don't just have internal spiritual experiences that they sit with and keep to themselves. They find ways to share that. That can be shared in the form of teaching, certainly, but and story and books, poems, music, art. The great religious founders created whole traditions of religious ceremony and ritual and symbolism, which are art forms. They functioned very much as artists, and that's so that other people can share in a very living and vibrant way those spiritual experiences, and that we can have them with one another. So, in our very essence, creative, spiritual, relational beings, we do these things so that we can share them and complete them together with one another. A piece of art and a religion, so to speak, is not complete until other people have a chance to share that, and then those other people add to it, because of what happens inside of them. Again, tuning into those things with the same um, core processors of who we are as human beings, which is that intuitive, creative, imaginative, empathetic, compassionate self that really is who we are in our essence. Um, so I like to think of it this way, that in some ways, religious founders, religious leaders are like creative spiritual people or spiritual creatives, and artists are like creative spirituals. So we both have that interplay of spirituality and creativity at work. The great world religions, I think, are actually um, chronologically in long development, great works of art. And I think great art, is very much akin to an offering of a religious insight or a spiritual insight. I prefer the term spiritual and creative versus art and religion, but I think you know what I'm talking about. Um, so, what this means for us as human beings, in terms of coming into the fullness of who we are as people, and really the fullness of our essence as human beings, it means that we're most fully alive when we can integrate artistic and spiritual wisdom into our lives in relationship with other people. When we can integrate spiritual and creative wisdom in community with other human beings, that's when we really can grow in the fullness of who we are as human beings. And I look around at the world today, I'm sure you do as well. No matter where you look, no matter which country's headlines you look at, we could use more people who are coming into the fullness of their artistic, creative, spiritual, relational, communal selves. May there be many more people like that in the world discovering the fullness of who they are. Thank you for listening.